You might find yourself waking up at the same time every night, feeling a touch when no one is there, or even hearing your name whispered when it's just you in the room. At first, it might seem a bit unnerving, a little out of the ordinary. But what if there's more to these moments than meets the eye? What if these aren't just random disturbances, but are actually calls to something deeper? Imagine this. Each time you wake up, it's not just by chance. It's God reaching out to you. This isn't about spooky occurrences. It's about a personal invitation from the divine. God is tapping on your shoulder, whispering your name, not to startle you, but to stir you from sleep to engage with Him in prayer. Now, you might wonder why God would choose such a time to get your attention. Well, the quiet of the night is a perfect time for reflection and prayer. It's free from the daily hustle, the constant buzz of technology, and the demands of life. In these silent hours, your mind is clearer, and your heart can be more receptive to the spiritual. This isn't just about saying your nightly prayers or going through a routine. It's about connecting with God's heart and aligning with His will. Prayer opens up a dialogue where you not only speak to God, but also learn to listen. It's a time when you can pour out your concerns, hopes, and even your fears, and in return, gain insight and peace. Consider the disciples of Jesus Christ, who also experienced a similar call to prayer. The Bible recounts in Luke 22, verses 45 to 46, when Jesus, having risen from prayer, returned to His disciples and found them asleep, exhausted from sorrow. "Why are you sleeping?" He asked them. "Get up and pray, so that you will not fall into temptation." Like them, you are being awakened, not as a disruption, but as a protective measure and a privilege to stand in God's presence. It's easy to dismiss these moments and roll over back to sleep. But what if you chose to respond differently? What if you saw each awakening as a divine appointment set by God Himself? You're not just anyone. You're cherished deeply by God, seen as the apple of His eye. Next time you find yourself suddenly awake in the middle of the night, consider it might not be random. It might be your very own call to prayer. Embrace these moments. Answer the call. It's an opportunity to engage with God, to be enveloped in His love, and to participate in a profound exchange that goes beyond the physical world into the spiritual. As you continue to experience these nightly awakenings, remember, they are not interruptions, but invitations. They are special moments where God reaches out, desiring not just to hear from you, but for you to hear Him. This is your time to stand in the gap, to seek His will, and to fortify yourself against life's challenges through the power of prayer. Consider how special it is to be woken up in the middle of the night. It's not just some random occurrence. It's a divine moment, similar to when Samuel, still a young boy in the temple, heard God call his name. At first, Samuel didn't realize it was God calling him. He thought it was Eli, his mentor. It took 3 calls before Eli realized what was happening and instructed Samuel to respond. "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening." This story, found in 1 Samuel 3, verses 1 to 10, shows us that even in unexpected times, God reaches out to us, wanting a personal conversation. Now, you might be wondering why God would choose such a quiet hour to speak to us. The night, with its stillness and lack of distractions, makes the perfect backdrop for deep communication. It's during these serene moments that you can truly hear what God is trying to tell you, away from the noise and hurry of everyday life. This quiet time isn't just about presenting your requests or going through a prayer checklist. It's about opening your heart to receive what God has to say to you. And it's not just about words. Remember how the message mentioned God giving Samuel a task. In your case, it might be that God plants a song in your heart, as Job 35 verse 10 wonders, but no one says, "Where is God, my Maker, who gives songs in the night?" This isn't just about singing. It's about worship that connects you to the divine, making your relationship with God even closer. Imagine then that you're not just waking up to pray. You're waking up to a personal worship session with God, where angels might as well be joining in. It's a private concert where your heart and soul connect with the divine through music and song. A moment where you are fully present with God, undistracted by the world. Moreover, these nighttime calls to prayer aren't just about what you need, but also about what God wants to share with you. He wakes you up because He wants to give you a vision, perhaps a glimpse of what He has planned for your life. When you're awake in the quiet of the night, your heart is more open, more receptive to receiving these divine insights. You see, during the day, you're often so busy running from one task to another that even when you do take time to pray, you might not be fully focused. You might miss the gentle nudging of God speaking to your heart. But at night, when everything slows down and you can pause and breathe, you're more likely to notice these subtle hints. So next time you find yourself awake in the early hours, instead of tossing and turning, trying to get back to sleep, sit up. Take a moment to ask, "God, are you calling me?" Then, like Samuel, say, "Here I am." You might just find that these moments become the most enriching and enlightening conversations of your life. And remember, you're not alone in this. Just as Jesus found the disciples asleep and urged them to pray to avoid temptation, as recorded in Luke 22 verses 45 to 46, you too are being called to stay spiritually alert. It's easy to feel isolated or lonely when you're up in the middle of the night, but think of it as a meeting arranged by God Himself, a time set aside just for you to engage deeply with Him. In these meetings, God doesn't just listen, He speaks. He reassures, comforts, and guides. He offers wisdom for life's challenges and peace for your worries. This is your time to hear what He has in store for you, to understand His will, and to align your path with His plans. Each call to prayer, each song in the night is a reminder of your unique place in God's heart. You are cherished, watched over, and called by name, just like Samuel. And just as Samuel grew to be a great prophet, listening and responding to God's call can shape your life in ways you never imagined. So, embrace these moments. See them as the gifts they are, and use them to deepen your connection with God. As we've been exploring, those moments in the middle of the night when you find yourself wide awake might be more significant than you ever imagined. Think about Samuel again. He was just a boy serving in the temple under Eli's guidance, yet God chose him to bear a monumental message. This wasn't during the bustling daylight hours, but in the quiet of the night. You can read about it in 1 Samuel 3, where God calls to Samuel, and it takes him a while to understand that it's not Eli calling him, but the Lord himself. This story teaches us something crucial. Being awake at night isn't just a time to count sheep. It might be your moment to receive something profound from God, just like Samuel did. When the Lord finally got Samuel's attention, he revealed his plans, not just for Samuel's life, but for all of Israel. What might God be trying to tell you in those quiet hours? Let's not forget what Habakkuk said. I will stand my watch and station myself on the ramparts. I will look to see what he will say to me, and what answer I am to give to this complaint. Habakkuk 2, verse 1. Like Habakkuk, you need to position yourself to hear from God. That could mean simply staying still, listening more than talking, and being ready to receive whatever God might be ready to communicate to you. Consider Joseph, who was entrusted with the role of being the earthly father of Jesus. This huge revelation came to him in a dream at night. Matthew 1, verse 20. Imagine if Joseph had ignored those dreams as just bits of his imagination. The story could have been very different. Like Joseph, you are also called to take seriously the visions or directions that come during these quiet times. They might just have a huge impact on your life and the lives of others. And then there's the role of intercession. God might be waking you up to pray for issues far beyond your own life. It's like he's pulling back the curtain on the world's stage, showing you what's happening in secret places and giving you a part to play in his bigger plan. Just as Elijah was privy to the plans of kings and could intervene through his prayers, you too might be called to effect change on a grand scale, all from your own prayer room. Think about the times when you've been woken up and felt an inexplicable urge to pray for someone or something. It might not have made much sense at the time, but later you come to find out your prayer was needed right at that moment. This isn't coincidence. It's divine orchestration. Remember, too, that these moments of prayer are not just about asking for things. They're about forming a deeper bond with your Creator. It's about standing in God's presence and simply being with Him, soaking in His love, His grace, and His wisdom. It's about worshiping Him with a kind of personal devotion that usually gets lost in the rush of everyday life. As you embrace these nighttime awakenings, think of them as your private meetings with God. Just as a king would summon someone to his private chambers to share secrets, God is summoning you. He's inviting you to share in the most intimate knowledge and communion. This is not just a duty, it's an honor. So, the next time you wake up in the middle of the night, instead of frustration, feel privileged. God is reaching out to you, inviting you to share in something heavenly. Say to Him, "Here I am," just like Samuel did. Be ready to listen, ready to serve, and ready to step into whatever role God has designed just for you. Listen, God is not only saving you from potential dangers, but also preparing you to be His instrument for good in this world. What a profound responsibility, and what an incredible honor to be trusted with such divine interactions.